Is this going to be a podcast episode? Let me slow down, girl. Is this going to be a podcast? Is this going to be a podcast?
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn!
Is this going to be a podcast episode? I guess we're going to figure this out right now. Ow. Bam. Ba-dow.
What?
Hey y'all, so my name is Tavia Tatiana, and I am an American living in Europe, the Netherlands specifically. And for my first episode of my new podcast called the Fat Belly Podcast, where I'm going to talk about all things fat, fashion, life, really whatever I feel like talking about, honestly, because I've been outspoken my entire life. I got shit to say now. I got shit to say. I got stories to tell, and I'm tired of being silent. So this will mark our first episode of the Fat Belly podcast. Okay, and I'll be honest. Starting a podcast when everybody was on the podcast, I was the main one being like, "Why everybody got a podcast? Nobody want to hear you. Nobody want to hear what you got to say." But now look at me.
Trash.
I just, I have shit to say. I know I have a unique perspective on life and the things that I do in life, especially being someone who lives abroad and lives in Europe and talking about my experiences. I just know I'm also a really interesting person, and I like, I make shit that I would want to watch. Let me digress. So this will be our first official episode while I iron out things and details and topics and how I want to branch out with this project. So my first episode is going to be talking about my move to the Netherlands, okay? The shit show of my move to this fucking country. Cause when I tell you this move has been a shit show, if I ain't ever seen shit before, I've seen it now. I have lived abroad pretty much since I was 19, 20. That's the first time I literally hopped on a plane after never being abroad, after knowing nothing about Europe, after only being in California. I hopped on a plane at 20 and moved to Paris. I was like, fuck it, I had nothing to lose. And since then, I have been living this love hate, mostly love journey of being an American abroad. And with being an American abroad comes unique challenges. Being a black American abroad comes with even more unique challenges. Being a black, fat, female American abroad comes with its own things. So we're going to delve into this in this podcast, but also in this episode, okay? So that's my little intro. My name is Otavia Tatiana, and I live abroad. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know I've lived abroad since I was 20. I'm now 26. It's been 6 years. I've lived in both France and Spain. So I thought moving to the Netherlands would be somewhat familiar. Not necessarily easy, not necessarily simple, but familiar. Like I'm familiar with dealing with immigration, dealing with visas, residence permits, having to find apartments, work, etc., etc. Now, when I tell you this move to this country took so much fucking planning, took so much fucking money, and still so many things happened beyond my planning. And mind you, the first two times I moved in France and Spain, I did no planning. Girl, it was, oh, I have $300 in my bank account. I'm gonna go to Paris. I'm gonna go to France. I'm gonna go to Spain. I'm gonna go to Barcelona. Like that was my vibe. And I made it work every time. However, this time I have matured and I was like, let me actually prepare, do research, yada, 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 did all that. So last year, I was in this place in my life where I just didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. And I kind of explored around for a bit. If you guys are following my channel, you know that I took a road trip in the south of France and Spain. Then outside of that, I did a trip in Portugal. Basically, I was country hopping to decide where I wanted to move next after I left Paris because I just never really thought I would actually want to leave Paris. And I also did a trip in the Netherlands. So when I was in the Netherlands last year, I was like, yes, this feels like my vibe that I'm looking for. The people are very welcoming, the people are very nice, the culture, I like the culture. I like the energy in the city. I was in Rotterdam, and Amsterdam has always been one of my favorite cities. But I just, like I said, I didn't think that I'd ever want to leave Paris, so moving to Amsterdam wasn't really in my mind. However, last year, when I didn't know what to do, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. Now, at that time, I was certain I was going to move to Rotterdam, which is the second biggest city in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken, outside of Amsterdam. It's pretty much like Amsterdam, but it's I think a little bit more low key, but it's very modern, super cute vibe. I loved it. I fell in love with it. So then, after I returned to the US, after doing my road trip abroad, I was like, okay, let's start this planning process. I did all my research. I talked to all the people. I joined Facebook groups, which is what I do every time I move abroad or I'm traveling. I joined 1,000 Facebook groups to ask questions, learn information about the country I'm moving to from locals, from other expats or immigrants. That's what I do. I checked all my T's, dotted all my I's, did literally everything and more.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Literally everything and more. And through my research, the main things I was worrying about was like the culture here for apartments is sometimes when you rent apartments, they don't come with flooring. And in my brain, that just don't make sense. Like somebody moves out and they rip up the flooring and take it with them, like literally the floorboards, the tile, the wood. Sometimes some apartments don't come with that. And to me, that was weird. Okay, that was weird. And that was something that came up a lot. So that was like one of my red flags to look out for. That was really my main thing. Also, upon planning, I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in an Airbnb for 1 to 3 months and go apartment hunting on the ground because at the time I was also applying for jobs. And the stumbling stone was that I wasn't actually in the country to fully do the process. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just take the leap, go to Rotterdam, find a place, look for jobs there, right? Simple, easy peasy.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Because what I was not ready for was one, the prices of apartments and the sparsity. When people say, you know, if you're someone who lives in a big city, like I've lived in many big cities, LA, Paris, Barcelona, everyone always is like, there's a housing crisis, there's a housing crisis. So I'm like, okay, yes, there's a housing crisis, but I can still manage. I know what to do. When people say that there's a housing crisis in this country that's like 2 centimeters big, take it with all the seriousness that they mean. There's a housing crisis is an understatement. When I tell you, I haven't ever been in a situation where finding housing was this chaotic, this rough, this inconsistent. Girl, the things that I've seen, the things that I've heard, the things that I've seen from like people in a desperate place because they can't find a place and they've been here for months searching. So that's what I learned when I came here. I'm getting ahead of myself. So when I was looking for places, I only had an inkling of what that meant. Like I had a kind of a good idea that housing was sparse, right? I'm looking on Airbnb thinking I'm gonna find some for 1, 2, or 3 months at a reasonable price. Tell me why all of these places were 4, 5K, 3K for 1 month. And this was not a loft. This was not a fucking condo. This was like studios, 1 bedroom apartments. Even rooms were 3K for a room in a shared space, 3K a month.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
And I'm looking in every single city. I'm looking in Rotterdam. I'm looking in the small cities around. I'm looking literally around the country because you can get around this country pretty much from anywhere you are within 2 hours. So I was looking in every city and I found nothing that was reasonably priced. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? I can't find an Airbnb. I can't just go to the country and hope for the best. I'm looking on Facebook groups that I'm in, trying to get a sublet, but people want to meet in person. So I'm like, shit, I don't know what to do. So in my mind, I had the smart idea since in Paris, I rented from like the short term rental agency. I would try to find that for this country. And I'm looking around at websites and I find this website called Housing Anywhere. And it's like my dream. It's exactly what I'm looking for. There's a ton of apartments that are for short term rentals, basically geared towards expats, people who are moving there, who need a place without having to go through the whole process. After months of searching on it, literally weeks, months, obsessing over trying to find a place on Airbnb, I give up on Airbnb. I go on this website, do the same thing. I'm looking for months for an apartment, messaging landlords. Either I'm not fast enough to get a place booked or it's just not a good enough place for my budget and et cetera, et cetera. And then after months of searching, I finally find this place in Rotterdam. It's a 1 bedroom, it's furnished, the furnishing is good, it fits within my budget, it's in a good area, and I double check this website. I double check the listing to make sure it's not a scam. I double check, and the listing is also on like the most popular housing website in the Netherlands. So I'm like, okay, good. It's a real listing. It actually exists. The same information on this posting is the same on the major website in the Netherlands. So I know it's real. The thing about this website is like once you send a request, you're basically paying for the apartment right away. And if the landlord accepts, then it's your place, right? So I pretty much reach out as soon as it's posted. The landlord replies, and he basically accepts my request to book his apartment. I'm like, wonderful, this is an amazing place. Now, mind you, at the time, I thought that I was ready to be a dog mom. So, someone in my family, their dogs had puppies, and I was going to take one of them with me to bring to the Netherlands and like live a happy life with my dog and have all that. Now, when I booked the place, it didn't say anything about no pets. So I'm like, okay, cool, this is perfect. I sent him all my information. I'm like, I'm gonna book by myself, and I would love to be in your place. He was like, yeah, you sound great, yada yada yada. Sent all my information. Everything runs smoothly. Okay, my first month's rent is like in this website. This website has this kind of secure housing thing where if you send your money, it stays on their website until you get to your place, and then they release it to the landlord. So I'm like, I'm certain this is not a scam. Like, I'm certain this is good.
You're a dummy, bitch. You will never know shit.
Now, after I book my initial place, I start emailing with the landlord to get more details. And he's like, I'm going to send the contract. He sends the contract within a few days. And in the contract, I'm reading it. It says, like, you can't move any furniture. You can't do this. You can't do that. No pets. And I'm like, hold on. On all the other listings on the website, it didn't say no pets. Like there's a certain button that says no pets specifically. And the listing that I applied for, it didn't say no pets. And also his other listings also didn't say no pets. So I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe there was like a typo. Maybe I can negotiate with him. So I email him. I'm trying to negotiate if I can bring a pet. All seems like it's going good. And then I give him more details about the dog, and he's like, uh, I don't really think that's a good idea that you bring a pet. And I'm like, okay, this is getting weird. And we're just not coming to terms. It's like days of us emailing back and forth because there's a time difference. We're not agreeing on what I can do about a dog. So I'm like, shit, what can I do? I can't stay in his place if I'm going to bring a dog. I already paid for all the dog fees to take the dog with me. So I need to find a place that's going to accept a dog. And he's not negotiating with me very much. So I'm like, I reach out to the website directly, their customer service. I'm like, what can I do in this case if me and the landlord are not on agreement with the contract terms? And all they replied to me basically is like, well, there's nothing we can really do about it. You just have to like figure it out with the landlord, basically. That's pretty much what they told me. They were like, we can't do anything. You got to talk to him. So I go back to him and I'm like, listen, there's nothing I can do. This website is telling me I have to come to an agreement with you, but I'm also not going to sign a contract that I don't agree with. I'm not going to send more money for a deposit if we haven't agreed on the contract So, what are we doing in this situation? And still, days are passing, we're emailing, and nothing is progressing. Like, nothing is going anywhere. And mind you, when I booked the place, I pretty much booked my plane ticket immediately after, and I was supposed to leave within a few weeks. So while all this is happening, the time is ticking for me to get on a plane and skedaddle daddle. And slowly, time is getting closer and closer, and we still haven't agreed on contract. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Now I'm pretty much desperate at this point. I'm trying to reach out to this website's poor excuse for customer service, emailing them multiple times, asking if they can step in. They just keep telling me I gotta go to him and speak to him. When I tell him that, he's like, you gotta go to them and speak to them. So I'm like, what am I actually supposed to do in this fucking situation? Like, what do y'all actually want me to do? Like, no one is giving me any solution. I'm just being sent back and forth. Finally, the website responds to me and they're like, okay, to reach our higher up team, you have to escalate the situation, which means you basically have to send a request to cancel the booking in order to reach them. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll reach them. I'm not canceling the booking. I'm just sending a request through their email form. I send that, and I guess the landlord sees that, and he's like, Because when I try to go back to him and be like, hey, I reached out to them, he's like, there is nothing I can do. There's absolutely nothing I can do. Good luck. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I still have the booking for your apartment. What do you mean there's nothing you could do? Like, we're still supposed to be talking. My money is still on the website to book your place. He's like, good luck. He kept saying good luck many times. He was like, you're the one who was stupid. You tried to lie to me, say you didn't have a pet. Never tried to lie to him. I told him up front, I have a pet when the contract came. And he was like, basically, good luck. You gonna have to work that shit out yourself. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean? You got my money. The website's not responding to me. So we have to work out something. There's the fuck you have to be flexible or you have to cancel the booking because we're not coming to terms. Because if I cancel it, I automatically get a penalty. And their policy is if I cancel it, the money gets sent to him. And I'm like, I'm not trying to cancel it. We're literally just not coming to agreement. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna move in a place that I didn't sign a contract on to be there for a whole year and just like just in a sticky situation that made no sense. And he is just like shutting me down every time I reach out to him via email. He's like, no, 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 talk to them. They're also telling me, no, 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 talk to him. So I'm like, fuck this. I call their customer service line, which is basically like a front end line. It's basically like a booking line. It's not really customer service. They can't really do anything, but they have it represented as if they're actually fucking helpful. So I call them in tears. I'm trying to explain my situation. Be like, now the guy's getting hostile. He's calling me stupid for not telling him up front. He's saying I'm a liar, etc., etc. And the woman on the phone is like, oh, I totally understand your concern, and I'm so sorry this is happening. I understand your stress, and I'm going to escalate your call to our finance team. Just hold on one moment. Puts me on hold. After like a minute, the phone cuts out. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay, I get it. We're in different countries, different time zones. The connection was lost. I call back. The same woman picks up. I explain to her, hey, the call was disconnected. Can you put me through again? She's like, yeah, sure. I'm going to put you through to our finance team. Yada, yada, yada. Puts me on hold. Guess what? The call cuts out again. Then I realize this bitch is hanging up on me. She's hanging up the phone. Now I'm livid with a capital live. I am freaking out. I'm panicking. I'm stressed. I don't know what to do because no one is answering. I'm supposed to be leaving in a few days and I just don't know what to do. And I'm just like in shambles at this point. So I wait a few hours and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait until she gets off shift and call them back. I call them back a few hours later. A man picks up. He's actually fucking helpful. He's like, actually, there's no finance team on this line. I can email the finance team, but that's all I can do. Like, there's no one I can transfer you to. Just send me the thread of you guys emailing so we have proof of what's going on in the situation. I send that to him. He sends that to the finance team. And I'm like, phew, okay, they're gonna see my case. They're gonna level with me because I'm in the situation that no one's fucking helping. They reach out and they're basically like, well, whatever he said is his policy and you can't cancel the booking because if you cancel the booking, the money's going to go to him. And I'm like, y'all, I'm not trying to cancel the booking. We're literally not coming to agreements. So what else am I supposed to do in this situation? They're like, oh, well, we understand, but there's literally nothing we can do. So I'm like, I'm fucked. Okay, I'm fucked. I'm panicking, emailing them back. And I think simultaneously while I'm emailing them, he's also emailing them because within like 30 minutes, I get an email saying, your booking has been canceled by the owner. Your money will be sent directly to him right now.
I beg your pardon?
Wow, man. Damn.
There's nothing else you can do. There's nothing else you can say. We're sorry about this resolution, but it's canceled.
Take your fucking L and shut the fuck up.
Girl, when I tell you I spiraled like I ain't never spiraled, like I ain't never spiraled before, I am like, fuck. Not only is my money gone, I don't have a place. I'm gonna lose my money on my plane ticket. I'm gonna lose the money I paid for the dog to travel with me, which is a couple $100 to get all the information, the vaccines and all that. I am fucked. I am panicked. I'm stressed. I don't know what to do. So after that whole situation happened, I'm like, fuck it. I'm just going to dispute this with my bank. And maybe since they're an American bank, they would understand what the fuck is going on. Luckily, by the grace of the goodness, I reach out to them the first time and send them all the proof. I write this really detailed worded letter of everything that happened, basically my sob story. I have to write them a whole fucking letter. All the proof that the booking was canceled, not by me, by the person. You know, when you go into a dispute, you have to wait a few months or like a few days until like everything is settled. And they were like, okay, we're going to take on your case. We're going to give you the money back temporarily. But the company has like 90 days to respond back and say if this was valid or not. While on like day 78 of the 90-day wait period, they respond back and are like, actually, no, this is not a real dispute. Like, we actually gonna take her money. So they take the money back out my bank account. And I'm like, fuck. I just lost nearly $2K. What was it, $1,500? For a booking I don't even have, for a place I never even stayed in, for a place I didn't even seen and even stepped foot in, for something I didn't even do. And I'm just like sad. And then I disputed again. I'm like, no. This is not possible. I need my money. I never even stayed in the fucking place. I never violated any rules. And luckily, after all that, Capital One was like, okay, we get it. It's yours. And since then, since I got my money back officially, locked my card. Card on lock. Don't touch my bank. Don't, because who has money who can just lose $1,500 for absolutely nothing? For a place they didn't stay in, for a place that they didn't even see, for simply not coming to agreements with a landlord. Like, who has that kind of money to just lose? After that, I was very stressed for a while and very traumatized because that took a couple of months of going back and forth with my bank, going back and forth with this man, stressed the fuck out, trying to stay up till 1, 2 a.m. to be on his time zone, to discuss the information, to then call customer service at 8 in the morning their time, but 1 in the morning my time. I was in shambles. And that is only part one of this fucking move to this country. That's only one of the situations that have occurred. I was trying to dodge bullets and somehow still got shot. So if you want to hear part 2 and part 3 of my shit show of a move to this fucking country, Excuse me. I do like this country. Don't get me wrong. I'm cussing just because that's bringing up traumatic memories. But I do love being here. So if you liked this video, if you liked the story time, give it a thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you know when I upload my next part. Okay? Bye, Bookies. See you soon.